Hello, 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 everyone. If you are tuning in right now, let us know where you're watching from. We would love to know. And if you can hear me and see me okay, first and foremost, can you hear me? Does the audio sound good? And can you see me? Because that's super important for what we're about to dive into today. I'm Sunny Lenarduzzi. If we haven't met before, I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks to everyone who is tuning in live. This is going to be a value-packed next 45 minutes. We are going to dig into a lot of tactics around packaging your skill set, packaging your expertise, and turning it into a highly impactful and highly scalable online business. So I cannot wait to do that. Hi, Diane Rusk. Nice to see you. Like I said, if you are tuning in, say hello in the chat. Let me know with a big yes if you can hear me and see me. Thanks, Allison, fellow Authority Accelerator. Remember, hi, Judy. Hi, Mark. Love to see it. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And we're going to dig into the case study, client case study, in just a second. I have a very special guest that is going to be joining me today. If you haven't joined us before, hi, George. Thank you so much. Hi, Alonzo. How these work is we are going to feature the story of one of our incredible Authority Accelerator clients. What is the Authority Accelerator? The Authority Accelerator is my signature program. It's what we do. Me and my team and some of my team members are here right now. We help experts and subject matter experts take their skill sets and their unique genius and package it into a highly scalable signature online program so they can reach more people, impact more people, scale their income, all while detaching their time from their money. And this is a perfect example today. Hi, Michelle Black. So many Authority Accelerator clients are here. If you're an Authority Accelerator client, just let us know in the chat. We love to see you here. Hi, Susanna. All right. Hi, Dal. Hi, Nicole. Nicole from my team is here. Jacqueline from my team is here. Bree from my team is here. So they're the perfect people to reach out to, Jacqueline and Bree, if you have any questions throughout the case study today about our program. Okay, so let me get into a little bit of an intro. Before I do, be sure to hit that like button wherever you're tuning in. And be sure to share this with somebody who you think needs this level of valuable, actionable tips, and also inspiration in getting their expertise to more people. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so let's dig into the story of our incredible guest today. So, for my Authority Accelerator client, Stef, there was no other option than to bet on herself. In 2019, Stef was pregnant, spinning her wheels, and overwhelmed by that little voice in her head shouting that she had more potential to tap into. She just knew she needed the right system to unlock it. And that's when we met and she enrolled in the Authority Accelerator program. Her fears around investing into herself had crept up, but she knew that in order to achieve big things, she needed to make big moves and finally bet on herself. So over the next few months, she followed the system to a T. And in that first year alone, she earned $65,000 while on maternity leave and in the middle of a pandemic. Pretty impressive, right? So just imagine giving birth to a baby and a business all at one time. Steph is a prime example of it. She's actually pregnant with baby number 2 right now, which is really exciting. And her progress over the last couple of years it's really quite incredible. And I can't wait to share it with you. So we're going to talk about how she went from pregnant and spinning her wheels to becoming a thriving entrepreneur and a new mom by helping busy, overwhelmed real estate agents learn the right skills and systems to scale their businesses in order to better serve their communities and earn an extraordinary income while they're at it. So just a few of the milestones that Steph has achieved since enrolling. In her first year, like I said, she earned $65,000 with her online program while on maternity leave with peace of mind and in the middle of a global pandemic. By the end of the year, she was attracting dream clients on autopilot through YouTube with absolutely zero ad spend. She still has not spent a dime on ads to this day. And people are willing to pay more for her expertise than she'd ever dared to charge. The following year, her income from coaching from her signature program went to $400,000. So $65,000 in the first year, and then her program generated $400,000 in that second year of business with a new baby. This year, she surpassed that record within 6 months. So she's doubled her revenue this year. Incredible. And this business has given her family an extra layer of security to have diverse income streams. And she's finally become the impact leader in her industry. I am thrilled and so excited to welcome Steph today. So let me bring Steph on. Hi, Steph. How are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have you here. I know we have some mamas, some soon to be mamas in the audience tuning in today. And I know your story is going to be so inspirational for them. And more than that, actionable as well. We're going to dig into quite a bit just in terms of what we're going to go over and teach you all today. We're going to talk about the key to becoming an authority in a crowded and competitive space, which Steph knows a lot about, how to turn strangers into hot leads on autopilot, and growing a business while finding balance and having a family at the same time. So before we
Mhm.
dig into that, let's kind of start with the beginning in mind, and let's dig into where this all started. Tell me about your journey as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, thank you for that. So when we met in 2019, I had already been dabbling in the coaching space for a couple of years, so trying to figure out how it really worked and where my place kind of fit in. And I had built a successful real estate business. So my husband and I we work together in our real estate business. We have already achieved like some really cool milestones on that side of things. But I knew that number one, I wanted to diversify our income. And I always joke that when you're working with your spouse, you need an outlet. And what I just love doing is being able to coach. And I just love the online space. I love content creation. I love connecting with other people. And I found that so many of the challenges that we had to overcome ourselves were like systemic through the real estate industry. And I thought, I could help, I can fix this. This is actually like a problem that I can serve and create solutions for that are totally different from what other coaches in the space are doing. But I had to have the right method to get out there. And, you know, I had failure after failure in the digital space. I had probably wasted at least $100,000 just trying to figure things out on my own, doing the DIY approach. And I was sitting there 6 months pregnant, and pregnancy is not something that's ever slowed me down. Like the family life is something that I'm very, very excited for and something that I love. But I know that I have a calling to do more. And I remember reaching out to you on Instagram almost in a moment of desperation, like, hey, I feel called to reach out to you. This is where I'm at. I need some help. I just need some direction. And that's where you introduced me to the Authority Accelerator. And you had to convince me
Oh, I
so
remember.
hard to go through and sign up for it. But it was almost like a step. You have to do this. Like at this point, you're just getting in your own way, which I have found is something that is a pattern of behavior of mine that I've had to overcome through every level of success that I've achieved. But I finally did it, and I put all these pieces in place while I was like large and in charge, pregnant, managing two different businesses. And luckily, I had everything basically in place just in time for me to start slowing down from maternity leave. And that's when the pandemic happened and the world stopped. And I remember sitting there as lockdowns were getting announced and we didn't know what was going to happen to our real estate business. On the real estate business side, clients were pulling out. We were like, there was so much fear and uncertainty, but the one thing that kept going was this digital program that I had built, and it just kept growing steadily and steadily and steadily. Because what happens in uncertainty is people begin looking for answers, and I had answers, and I had a method to distribute those to the people who needed it. And so just being able to be in the right place but with the right system and sticking to that process even when things got scary, it changed our lives.
Oh my gosh, it's such an incredible story. I cannot imagine the level of like stress
Mm-hmm.
and overwhelm you were feeling at that time, because we all know that the real estate industry ended up booming really during the pandemic in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like in the beginning early stages, you're like, what's going to happen? Is business going to completely stop? I don't know what's going on. So to be able to have this buffer, even though you're just getting it started, I know that that must have added a layer of like stability during really uncertain times, which is really nice for you and your family. The thing I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to dig into a little bit is you started your business while you were technically on maternity leave. What about, that time for you was so motivating to keep you driven to start this online program?
I might be a little more unique in this, but maybe not. Maybe others can relate. I was not going to lose my identity to becoming a mother, if that makes sense. And so I was really afraid of losing my edge. I was really afraid of losing progress, of losing traction. And so I almost had this like, I've always had a chip on my shoulder. And it really kind of showed up when I was like, I'm not going to let this be the thing that slows me down. Because I grew up in extreme poverty. I have a lot of trauma from my past and from my family. And it was not an option for me to bring that on to the next generation. I absolutely knew that, like, no matter what, part of what makes us successful, my husband and I, is we know that it's all on us. We've never been handed anything. We've never had any breaks. And we've been successful in spite of what we've been dealt. And you might not see that with where we are today, but we've had to overcome some crippling challenges in our lives separately and together. And so now you're bringing a child into the world, and you look at that baby and you know that you'll never love anything the way that you do, and you know that you'll make anything happen, right? And it was a level of ownership for my own success, and I knew I had to go all in on myself in order to give the opportunities to my family that they deserve. And I know that's like a little like maybe that's very specific to my experience.
It's incredible.
But it got us really far.
I mean, I can say for me, that's like so inspiring and so impactful. And I know there's people here right now that are like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And it's so powerful because you have broken that generational pattern, and you're now generating more money in your business and earning more as a family than you ever have before. And I'm sure anyone else in your family has before. And that's a really big leap and journey to go through. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of dig into the steps that really led you there. I also wanted to mention before we get into the training today, if you're here watching and you are a subject matter expert, if you have a skill set, if you have an expertise, super simple. Jacqueline, and Bree are here. They're tuning into this live stream as well, and they're in the comments. And if you want to speak to someone on our team and see if this is the right fit for you, we're happy to chat with you. So just comment with apply. I just put this into the chat. Comment with apply, and you can speak to either Bree or Jacqueline on my team about our program and to see if it is the right fit. And like Stef said, I do remember speaking to you. I remember exactly where I was. I was in a little smoothie shop near my old apartment, and I was talking to you on the phone, and it was just before Christmas. And we had such a good conversation about like, I knew, I was like, this is going to work for you. It works, period. If you do the work, it works. And I remember you were so scared. Like you said, you would spend $100,000 in other options and things to try and make this online business work. And this for me today, and I said this to you when we weren't on live, is just like, it's such a surreal, beautiful moment, because this is why I do what I do. I mean, to see the transformation you've been through is really incredible. And I'm so happy for you, and I'm so happy for your family. Let's talk about your own program and how it aligns with your story. So you gave kind of an overview of what you do, but give the audience and people tuning in an idea of how you serve people through your online program and how it aligns with who you are.
Yeah, so I'm in the real estate space, and if you imagine most real estate coaches, you hear a lot of the like, rah rah, you're making your calls, go out there and get them, and it's very ego driven, and it's very like very just high level. And if you actually look at what coaching is in most parts of real estate, it's very out of touch, because the entire industry has gone through a massive shift in the last couple of years that those who have been coaching for a long time have missed because they're out of production. But as somebody who is still selling real estate, still working with clients as well at the same time as doing this, I recognize that what I was being told to do was like not rooted in reality whatsoever. And real estate has gone from a past of where when you wanted to reach out to somebody, the value you had was getting them into homes, like providing them information about listings, getting them into the homes, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're closed, okay, see ya, never. Today, it is so much more relationship driven, and you really have to articulate your value as a real estate agent, because what happens is the internet has come in. It provides all of the information that our clients need as far as what homes are on the market, what pricing is out there. And obviously there's tons of free information about how to buy a house. That's not really what people need. People need like a consultant. They need a guide in their corner that teaches them when they should buy, what is the best way to buy. Like, it's just a different level of service. And the real estate agents who can provide that kind of service are the ones who win. But what it requires is a way more in-depth business plan. It requires a multi-level marketing approach, and it requires systems, because you cannot drop the ball at any different place. And I'm just happen to be really obsessed with systems because I love scalability, and I know that systems is what allows you to do that. And that's where I specialize. And I teach real estate agents how to become an authority in their market by implementing the right systems and modern marketing strategies that helps them find their unique audience. There's a lot of alignment there, but their ideal clients, and explain what it is they do beyond just putting a sign in the yard, which is 90% of other agents do, and they wonder why it doesn't work for them.
Right.
And so through this, I'm giving them a proprietary process, because we have built a business in this way already. I literally just took my business plan, packaged it up, and I gave it to my coaching students. And then we are able to share the things that we're working on as we're in the trenches with them as well, which they love.
Yeah.
So they get a little bit more of that like real time implementation.
And I think that's such a great clue that you just dropped there in terms of packaging what you were already doing. That was a lot of, so obviously I spent 5 years working with clients in getting them to become the authority in their marketplace, but I was doing it in a way where I was like working in these one-to-one settings and consulting and all this stuff. And I was like, I am repeating the same thing over and over and over again. If I could just like package this, I could impact a lot more people and not trade my time for money. And so if you think about what you do in terms of your skill set, your expertise, how you help people, if you're watching this, think through the things that you repeat. Oftentimes, a lot of that becomes your curriculum in your online program. So let's dig into some tactics, because I think this is going to be really helpful for people to hear. And like I said, if you're watching and you're enjoying this, give this a like. Be sure to share it out with anyone who needs to see it. And I want to dig into the first step here. So this is so important, because I think this may be one of the top questions I'm asked is like, but my space is so crowded. How could I possibly be seen? And you know this firsthand. Real estate is an incredibly crowded space, but yet here you are being seen as a go-to authority. So the key to becoming an authority in a crowded and competitive space, where did that start for you, and how did the Authority Accelerator program help you identify that?
Well, you walk us through a really helpful exercise called niche down to blow up, and really understanding what our niche is, and allowing us to not be like one for many, and instead really get clear on the specific group of people who we're meant to serve. And part of this was a little bit of a process for me, because I want to work with everyone, and I'll take anyone's money, and I'll grow. Like, it's totally fine. But what it allowed me to do was, again, like really get clear on articulating the solution that I had for specific people. And not everybody's going to be a fit for my program. And there are very specific things that we do that some real estate agents would find abhorrent. And so allowing, giving me the permission to niche down into that space and identify, okay, who is really seeing the best results from the program. I would preface this, and I would add the caveat that you should be working with clients. You can be working with clients before you find your niche. Because the more you're working with people, and the more you're able to track the case studies and see results, the more you're able to like allow that to come naturally. And that's kind of how it happened for me. And one thing that I was really pushing off against was like, I didn't want to be all in on one demographic. And it turns out that the demographic I just happen to do really well with are other moms, because they align with my story.
Yes. I was going to say, like, obviously, there we go. We love it. I preach this all the time.
I know. Even today, that's so hard for me though, because even today, I feel like, well, but it can apply to anybody. And that's just not the point. Like when it comes to marketing, the more specific you can get, what I learned through the program is the higher you can convert. And naturally, that's going to be a qualification process that helps later on in the sales. But it's not going to pigeonhole who you can actually speak to. It's going to open up a broader audience because it's going to bring in the right people
Yeah.
who then are willing to share, who are willing to invest. Like it actually works a lot better than I initially thought it would. That was
Well,
my
I'm
own
happy to hear
journey.
that. I mean, listen, it's usually a pretty big learning curve for people because they think,
Yeah,
well, but I can serve everybody. And the reality is, yeah, you can absolutely help
that's
many, many people. You can serve a ton of people. Free content is a great way to do that. Having said that, to have the depth of your impact is a direct reflection and correlation of the specificity and who you're serving. Because when you try to serve everybody, your impact becomes surface level because you have to go broad.
mm-hmm.
When you get really specific and narrowed down, your impact becomes so much deeper because you know exactly how to serve that person and that group of people to get them the best results. And you're not trying to feed them everything and give them all of the information. They just need to know the specific process to get them from where they are now to where they want to be ultimately. So thank you for saying that. It helps further reiterate the thing that I say all the time. So I appreciate that.
Yep.
And I think it's really interesting too, like, don't take for granted anybody here watching that you do tend to attract people who are a mirror for you. And so there's a lot in your story, Steph, that attracts moms. It attracts women who have kids and are busy and they're working in the real estate industry and they're like, this other advice over here is not landing for me. Like, I am not going to grind my face off 24 hours a day. I just physically can't do it. So, can you speak to what you've noticed in terms of like narrowing down your messaging to this specific group and how it's affected the business?
Yeah, when I really started, one thing that I found was I didn't have to have the answers. I could
Yeah.
ask, right? So part of this was a process of literally going to my ideal clients as I had begun to like identify them and asking them specifically what their problems were.
Yeah.
And I think that we're afraid to do that a lot of times because we assume that as the quote unquote experts, we should have all the answers, right? And that's never going to be the case, and it shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't naturally know just everything that goes on in the clientele's eyes. Like you should be hearing it from them because the market is constantly shifting, the economy is constantly shifting, and where they are in the cycle of life is going to be different too. And so if you're going to really speak directly to that individual through your marketing, which is going to be a more broad voice, it's your duty to understand specifically what needs they have. And that's been happening for ages just through R&D, right? Like focus groups.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we forget that is a thing when
It's
it
a
comes to the
basic.
digital space, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so just by having conversations and hearing specifically what the pain points were, what the desires were, and what success actually meant to them, it was a little bit different than what I initially thought. And it allowed me to kind of tailor that approach, and also it totally removes the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
because suddenly I did understand what their problems were, and I did have the confidence that I could solve them because I cared enough to listen to what they were.
Oh my gosh. It's yeah, absolutely true. This is why we harp on this so much. Is like you got to speak to people. You have to really listen. If
Mm-hmm.
you create any business and go, yeah, I know exactly what my client offers. I always say that's like a sign of like death essentially in your business. If you're sitting there going,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I already know what my client needs." I assure you, you do not. You got to listen.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention, and that is the biggest gold that you can have in a business is knowing who your ideal client is and exactly what it is that they're seeking and how they speak and how they think and how they act and what resonates with them. When you have that, you have the competitive edge. So, to kind of bring it full circle, in order to become an authority in a crowded and competitive space, is understanding that when you hone in on your own journey and how that's a mirror for how you can support your clients, there is no such thing as competition. Have you felt that at all
Right.
at certain points where you're like, oh, I don't really have competition anymore? Do you feel that?
Yeah, because I've developed a community, right? And I've developed a community based off of like connection and just being a real person. And so people connect with me and my brand and my vision because it aligns with theirs as well.
Yes.
So that is one thing. But the other thing that I have found is I was willing to do the work and stick with it. And over the last almost 3 years, I have been absolutely relentless in the process. And I think that's an important key to beating competition as well, because I know no one's going to work as hard as I can for my specific community.
Yeah.
And I see people coming up all the time who are like swiping my language or
Oh
like
God, yeah.
kind of almost like ripping off a lot of stuff that I'm doing. And it doesn't even faze me anymore because I'm like, whatever, they're going to find that it doesn't work for them as well as it does for me. And then they're going to rip off somebody else next. So I just have to stay the course, you know?
1000%. It's a long game. And I said this to you before. This is
Yeah.
why I love your story, because this is our approach as well. Like, trust, like if you're good at doing anything, there are going to be copycats. There are going to be people who go, oh, that worked for her, I'm going to steal everything she does. And I've been in this game long enough to know they last about 6 months and then you never see them again. So the competition
Yep.
becomes irrelevant when you stay true to who you are, how you can serve people. And I love the word relentless. I use that a lot for myself. I feel like we're very similar humans. And you're relentless in the process. You're not relentless in the outcome. You're not relentless in, this is my goal, I have to get to it. You're relentless in the process of over caring for the people that you serve and giving them exactly what they need. When you stick to that and you focus on that being the thing you're in control of, your business is going to be a-okay and it's going to continue to grow. So I love that you said that, because I'm such a huge proponent of it. Let's dig into the next piece, which is turning strangers into hot leads on autopilot, which I know everyone here is like, ding, ding, ding. That's what I want to know. So I'm excited to dig into this piece. And before I do, like I said, if this is all sounding really interesting to you and you're like, I want to do this, I know that I have a skill set and an expertise that I can share and make an impact on more people with, just put the word apply into the comments. Just write apply in the comments, and Bree and Jacqueline from my team will reach out so that we can actually speak to you and support you on that journey. So I'm going to put those instructions in the chat again. All right. So turning strangers into hot leads on autopilot. You said something earlier. I wanted to just touch on this because I think it is important. Having that mindset of like, you can never learn enough, and have that idea of like the prototype mindset. I know that you've applied that in so many areas of your business. How has that applied in terms of attracting clients and getting people in the door?
So your sales process in Authority Accelerator worked perfectly for me. As a busy mom who runs multiple businesses, like I have to be very cognizant of my schedule and my time. And the way that you helped us really helped me really understand how to create a sales funnel that I could literally turn on and off the traffic spigot was super helpful, first of all. But what we found is it really creates an avenue for people. If they want to speak to me, they can apply through my team. And now I have sales members on my team who assist me with that process. But they know exactly what it is they're looking for through the content that I've created. And it kind of goes back to niching down. So a lot of times, like especially in the digital space, you find yourself on a content treadmill where you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I create? All this stuff. But when you know your ideal clients well enough, you really are creating content that's designed to speak directly to them. So by the time they book a call with me, like they are, for the most part, they're ready to go. Like it's literally just a matter of, hey, I need to figure out the details and decide whether or not I can really like swing this right now, the investment side of it. But they were already totally dialed into the mission and the brand. And what's really cool is through the content and through the sales funnel, what we've done is been able to, and what I've learned to do is help them articulate what their problems are. And I think so often the sales process is really understanding, just like you say, where are they right now and where do they want to be. When we feel pain and friction, we can't always articulate what that is. And so it's
Totally.
really hard to justify investing in something if you don't have the language there. And so throughout the whole sales funnel, we put that language out there so that they can identify with it and self-qualify to decide whether or not that is the problem that they need help with. And so ultimately, by the time we even get to the point of like the financials, like whether or not they want to invest, they've already decided that yes, it is the right fit. How am I going to find the money? Right.
Yeah.
So I struggle in that I'm not a very aggressive salesperson. Like I'm not naturally, for someone who chose a life of sales, I'm not great at sales. I'm not salesy spammy. I am not aggressive. I'm not going to go for the hard sell. And I'm never going to put someone in a bind, even if I think I can get them out of it on the other end of it. That's just not my approach. But I found that this process was super helpful to at least creating a conversation where I could educate and then allow them to make a decision that they feel really good about.
Yeah.
And then it's a heck yes from there, which is great.
It's a total heck yes. And I think that's the thing is like everything that you just said, I absolutely feel the same way. I don't feel like this is gonna sound really weird. I don't feel like I'm good at selling. And I would actually say like our entire team kind of aligns with that. And what that means is we are relationship builders. We know that if we nurture a relationship and we create value for somebody at the right place on their journey, it's a no-brainer for them to be a part of our process and be invited into our program. And I think that goes back to really listening. The only time when you have to be spammy and salesy and feel like icky about it is when you don't know who you're serving. So you're just screaming into a void, trying to serve everybody, and you're trying to sell some things to somebody that you don't even know that they need. That's when it comes across pushy and gross and salesy and icky. But when you know who you're serving and you know what they need and you know how they feel, you know you have the right prescription. So I always equate sales to really kind of being a doctor and listening.
Yeah.
And you listen to the pain that they're in, you listen to the challenges they're facing, and you go, okay, do I have the right prescription for this? If you do, it's a perfect match. And it makes people go, I can't wait. I can't wait to enroll in this program. If it's not today, it'll be a month from now, a year from now. We have people come back to us years later and they go, okay, now it's the right time. So
yeah,
I think it's important to understand sales is not what you may think it is. It's no longer the thought process of like, let me just shout at everyone I can see to get into whatever it is that I'm selling. It's let me know exactly who I need to speak to them in a way that adds a ton of value and supports them where they are. And that will naturally turn into them being like, I have to do this. This is so important to me and I'm so excited to do it. And I know you've had that experience. You've had people come on calls with you and go like, I'm so excited to talk to you and I'm so excited to do this. And that's such a beautiful thing. That's when you know you've really nailed your messaging and nailed your business.
Yeah. And I've had at this point, I now have someone taking sales calls for me, and I was very resistant to wait for way too long. But what that allowed me to do was I've had hundreds of what I would consider ideal client interviews. At this point. And I know my ideal clients better than anybody. And it allows me to have a level of confidence in sales that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Because now I know why I'm justifying a $5,000 program. Like I know exactly why somebody's going to give me that much money because I know exactly what it's going to do on the other end. And I feel good about it and they're going to feel good about it too. Absolutely. And so it's just a really comfortable process.
Yeah, that's the thing. You cannot feel gross about sales when you like know that you're offering something that people actually need. Like it's a simple concept, but it's incredible how many people just don't follow that process and they hate sales because of it. Okay, so I loved everything you said there. I mean, I want to reiterate that you've not spent a dime on advertising, and to date, how much has your business generated? So 65,000 in the first year, 400,000 in the second year. And then where are you at as of now?
Oh, cumulatively, like total?
Yeah.
Oh, I've done over $1 million total.
Incredible. Like, can we just give everyone a virtual round of applause? I mean, that's incredible. Like, did you anticipate this when you enrolled and when we spoke that day? You did. I love it. I love it. You're like, I'm going to get there. Despite, I think that's important. Let's actually dig into that just for a second. I think that's so important to dig into because I do remember that phone conversation that we had and you had invested in something else. I think you had spent like $5,000 on something else and you were so nervous and you were like, I just don't know if this is the right thing for me. I don't know if this is going to work. So I think it's so interesting to kind of share because I'm sure there's a lot of people here who are like, I know I can be successful. I know I can hit this benchmark. I know I can get there, but I'm also terrified at the same time. So how do you hold those two things at once and move forward?
So I had gone through some really core decisions in the evolution of my business. And when you and I met, it was about 6 months after an absolute catastrophe where we had lost like $50,000
Yes.
on a campaign that just like didn't turn out. And it had stung so hard because like we were in a different place in life, and it was so scary. And I I'm so aligned with my purpose and what like life has for me. Honestly, like I know that I'm going to be able to continue to hit like really exciting milestones. And I knew that back then too. And I remember like sitting at wine bars, because like that's what my husband and I do. We love to go out and drink and go to cocktails and like just have fun. And like I remember those late night conversations over a glass of cab and saying like, you don't understand. Like this is like you don't understand. Like I can see it.
Yeah.
It is coming for us. It is there, but we have to be bold and we have to make these decisions and we have to go for it. And it was always kind of like asking permission and getting justification from my husband.
Yeah.
And looking back, it wasn't him, it was me. It was me asking permission, right? Like from myself, and like feeling like I needed to play small and feeling like I needed to put myself into like a box where I didn't inconvenience anybody else. But if you are going to achieve really great results, number one, you have to believe you can and that you will, and which I did. That wasn't a problem. But you then have to give yourself permission to bet on yourself to do it.
Yep.
You almost have to like get rid of the past you and like walk into who you are meant to become. And I realized that like it wasn't necessarily about like fake it till you make it. That wasn't it, because like I've never been a fake it till you make it. Like I know that I have a lot of value to give, and I know I care a lot, and I know that I'm resourceful enough to figure it out if I don't have the answer at that moment. But what decisions are you making? What investments are you making? What risks are you taking? What is your mindset? What is your habits? Those were the things that I had to clear out. And it took a lot of inner work. It took a lot of help from professionals to get me there, which was also a scary investment that I had to make. But ultimately, I had to become that person who was going to allow myself to create those results. And it was a slower process. I think that I could have achieved a lot more quick, like success, if I was willing just to lie my way through it. But that wouldn't have been sustainable. And the journey that I'm on is deeper than just my bank account, right? Like the journey that I'm on is becoming a person who creates generational impact, not only for me, but for those who I serve as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to let the results take even longer, because I say these numbers like cumulatively for the last 2 years have created that like, $1 million. Like that's so cool, super exciting. Next year, I'm going to blow it up. I know that it's going to be incredible. I feel like I should have done that even sooner, but who cares?
Who
Like the
cares?
time doesn't matter.
Yeah, the process
It
is what
doesn't matter.
matters. Yeah, the process is
Yeah.
what matters, and you've, like you said, been so relentless about the process. That's why the outcomes are there. We often say this on
Yeah.
our team. It's like all you can control are your inputs, and when you are diligent and thoughtful about the inputs, the outputs will always be there.
Yeah.
And I love that you said, the journey is deeper than your bank account, because it's true. Like the numbers are just a happy byproduct of
Yeah.
really trusting and surrendering to the process. And I think that's so important for people to hear, is like, you only need to feel fearful of investing into something if you don't know you're going to do the work. Especially when there's years and years and years and years of proof and success stories to back it up. At the end of the day, if you see all the proof in front of you and you're still sitting there going, I just don't know, that's more of you questioning yourself than it is you questioning anything else. Because if the process works and you just have to do the work, that's really as simple as it comes down to. But obviously there's things that get in the way of that. So yeah.
Yeah. If that's something, if you're listening to this and that's you're struggling, you might need some therapy, and that's okay too.
Yeah. I mean, we both have.
We all need a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I want to dig into the final piece here of the training today, which is growing a business while finding balance. Like I said, I know there's a lot of mamas here. I know there's a lot of family oriented humans here who are like, how do you possibly grow $1 million business in essentially 2 years? while also having 2 kids, and growing your family and wanting to be present with your husband and all of these things. So growing a business and finding balance, how did you tackle that? And how did our process help you get there?
Yeah, I would say that the balance has come in waves. So the balance is not a consistent thing for me
No.
whatsoever. This journey has been one of like marathons and sprints, and that's okay. There have been moments that I've missed with my son that I wish I, could have been, more involved with, but at the same time, like the mission that I'm on, like is going to require sacrifice. And so I think one thing that you are really honed in on, one of your values is like just massive scalability, right? But scalability takes time and it takes a just crap ton of investment from my perspective and from what I have found. And that's an investment of
And
time and effort
just to
and
clarify,
money.
investment, that doesn't necessarily mean financial always, but that can be a part of it. Just to
Time,
clarify that.
all
Yeah.
of it.
Time. Yeah.
Time, energy, effort. Like it's so, like my journey has been so much harder than I thought it would be to building a business, which is like I'm not doing a little thing.
No,
like,
no,
like
it's the big
it,
thing. Yeah.
right. It's a big thing, and so I had to understand what that was going to take and just kind of accept that. But what's allowed me to still stay present with family is bringing on like the right systems and the right people to help support me to get there. So this year has been my big year of building out a team to support me
Yeah.
because in order to do really big things, you can't do it alone. And I've been able to watch you as you've grown and you've developed your team and stuff. It's so cool and it's so inspiring. And I always thought like, well, I don't have to do that. I just want to be small but mighty. But sometimes small but mighty can still mean a team of 5 who
Totally.
makes sure that you are well supported.
Yep.
Right. And so that's where we are today. And I'm going into maternity leave in the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to enjoy the holidays. And my business is going to continue rocking and rolling the entire time because I have the right people in place. And so balance is it's never free.
No.
It's never granted. Like it's just never a given. You do have to build it in,
Yeah, I
right?
think one of my favorite things is I work really, really hard to make my life easy. Like, I think that's one of the best
Yeah.
ways to think about it. Is like you do have to put the processes and the systems in place, and you have to be really intentional and mindful about it to
Mm-hmm.
give yourself time back and to allow yourself to be present. There's routines that need to be incorporated. There's things that you need to do to fill your
Yeah.
own cup so that you can really build a business in that way. And how you do that is you allow yourself a little bit of space and time back to focus on the bigger picture. When you're in a place where you're on this constant hamster wheel and you're trying to find your next client and that's your only focus because you don't have any freedom, you can't ever get there. And so creating a scalable model from day one allows you the space and the time and the resources to be able to create even further scale. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a cheat code, I would say, to have a business model that allows you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And your business model works perfectly for that because you get to decide how involved you want to be and how
Yeah.
big you want to take it. Like you have autonomy there with the business model that you've kind of lined out. And for me, one thing that really helped was just taking a moment when I feel friction, when I feel like things are really hard, is just thinking like, well, what would it be like if it was just easy?
Yes.
What would the situation look like if it just flowed? Who's
Mhm.
involved? What am I doing? What decisions are being made at that point? And importantly, what am I eliminating? What am I getting rid of? Because what I found through AA is like, hey, it's like 20%. Like you just have to focus on like a couple of the right things and you're gonna, do really
Yeah.
incredible stuff with your business. And what I want to do is like, oh, if I'm not feeling enough pain, I'm not working hard enough. And that's been a that's been a
Yes.
thing where I've had to
Yeah.
get back to basics, remember the core principles that we're focusing on here. And each time we do that, it just simplifies everything and it frees it
Yeah.
up.
I say the term back to basics probably 19 times a day to myself, to our clients,
Yeah,
because people often think that growing anything requires push, push, push and
right.
complexity, and it has to be hard. And the truth is, as somebody who's gone through a massive burnout and experienced so much in my business and so many ups and downs, I was talking to my husband just last night. We sat down for dinner because we just did our year-end numbers in the business. And we had our most profitable business year ever. And it was our easiest and most peaceful business year ever. And so that right there is proof that the more simple that you can keep things, ultimately the more payoff you're going to have on the other side, and the more of a whole human you're going to be, as opposed to this robot who needs to be working all the time to justify their value and their worth, which you don't need to do. Your clients and the people you love in your life need you to be a whole person. They need you to be healthy and happy. And so creating that scalability allows you to do that in your business as well.
If I could make just a really important distinction here, like that's going to be my year next year. I'm not at that level yet. And one thing that I get really obsessive about, like, you know, in the weight loss community, how they have non-scale victories.
Yes.
I get really obsessive about like the non-production victories.
Totally.
Like I, again, am so detached from results at this point in revenue and like those numbers. And I'm looking to, like, that's what I want. I want the ease and I want the flow. And I really believe that results follow from that.
Yes.
And so while this year has been a little out of balance from where I want it to be, I can already see that I've done the right things to afford myself balance next year, when it's really going to matter even more because I'll have an infant and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
Absolutely. One of our favorite things on our team is let it be easy. And if you can just think about it in that way, whatever you're doing, like, let it be easy. What is the easier option than what you're doing right now? If there's friction showing up anywhere in your life, generally it's a sign that you need to just dig into it a little bit deeper. Thank you so much for that. I hope that this was incredibly valuable for everyone here. There was one question I did want to touch on really quickly. Diane Rusk asked, would like to know about more about your marketing success without paid ads. So I think you're asking, Diane, like, how is Stef marketing her program? One of the main vehicles that we teach our clients is YouTube. So that's been one of the main vehicles for you. Is there anything else you want to touch on in terms of answering that question?
No, just keep it simple. It's YouTube. From our journey, so by the way, I was hugely pregnant going through your program, and I fished out my camera every single weekend. I took my videos and posted them on YouTube. And finally, I invested in a studio and like people to help me with the production side of things, because that's what I just needed to do to make it easy for me. But like for years, one video a week, doing the right kind of content that you taught me how to do. You taught me how to figure out what is going to create sales, and I just did it. And I literally never let up. And so leading up to maternity leave, I've spent the last month and a half batching the next 4 months of video content that's already done through January.
Amazing.
So we've been working on that for like since August, which is awesome. But that's the number one thing. That's where all of our business comes from.
Yep. Easy breezy. We love that. As my nephew likes to say, easy breezy lemon squeezy. So that's what we stick with around here. I would love to know 2 last questions. When you think about who you were prior to us meeting and enrolling in the Authority Accelerator and who you are today, what would you say are the biggest differences?
I was just afraid to bet on myself, not because I didn't think that I could, but because I didn't think I was allowed to. And so what I've really learned through the last couple of years is that like you are the only person who can give yourself permission to accomplish huge things. So you have to allow yourself to do it. And I see it all the time with my clients. But I'm like, I'm telling you what you need to do, and you know what you need to do, but you're standing in your own way. It's funny being on the other side of it where you can see it manifesting, and then you're like, crap, that was me like months ago on that one decision. And so I think that that's really important. It's just embracing that, like, you just have to make the decision to go all in on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're such an incredible story for so many people. I know we have a lot of our members here, fellow members in the Authority Accelerator here. One last thing I'll ask is, if anyone's here watching, which I know you are, I see you, and you're like, I know I want to do this. I'm really nervous, but I know I want to do this. What would be your advice to somebody who's kind of sitting on the fence right now?
If nothing changes, nothing changes. So how long are you willing to sit in discomfort? Like, that's really what it came down for me. Like, how long was I willing to put off my destiny? And I know it sounds so silly when you say that way, because it sounds a little crunchy, it sounds a little woo, but like truly,
I'm here for it.
Like if something is calling you and something is saying, like whispering in your ear saying like, hey, you need to be paying attention, how long are you willing to put that up? Because the longer it takes, the longer it takes. So
Yep.
like you just got to start now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to start now, a couple things you can do. You can go to that link, sunnylenarduzzi.com/apply, fill out the application, and you'll speak to a real human on our team so we can support you in the process. Or you can email us at s@sunnylenarduzzi.com with the subject line apply. Or in the comments right now, just put apply, and our team will reach out to you so that we can speak with you and see if we are the best fit to support you on this journey. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. And please, if you're watching the replay, let us know with replay in the comments and let us know your biggest takeaways. And for everyone here who tuned in live, there's a million and one things that you could have been doing today. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason that you saw this when you saw it. So I hope that you take that as a sign. And we hope to see you on the inside, both Stef and I, of the Authority Accelerator program. Thank you so, so much to Stef for your time and for your story and for all the value that you shared. And thank you to everyone who tuned in, and we will see you very soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.